Welcome to the Retail Tech Podcast, where we talk about the full spectrum of technologies and implementation used in omnichannel and online retail. Make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at retailtechpodcast.com, and we always look forward to your feedback. I'm speaking with Michael Osbourne today, CEO of a company called SmarterHQ. How are you today, Michael?
I'm doing very well, Darius. Thank you for asking.
Fantastic. Can you tell us what is SmarterHQ?
SmarterHQ is a contextual marketing engine, essentially a platform that allows marketers to use predictive analytics and data that they gather from the behavior of their customers and potential customers to then optimize and personalize marketing messaging across the web, across email, across mobile, and even across ad networks and social.
And are you focused in a specific industry? Because I know you work with a lot of retailers.
Yes, we do have a lot of retailers as customers. However, that's not that's certainly not the only vertical that we play in. In fact, we're on the verge of adding a financial services company and as well as a travel company to the family. Really, think of it as any B2C marketer could use what we do as a platform to personalize their marketing messaging, whether it's a standard B2C retailer or someone outside of the retail space.
There are a lot of companies that focus on the B2B segments. And I'm always interested to find out about companies that are actually helping B2C companies.
Honestly, not too many. And where we sit in their stack is on top of their ESP. We'll take data from their CRM system. We'll populate data back to that CRM system. We'll take a feed from their point of sale or order management system. But then we basically, we can change the content of the website based on the campaigns that they are running. We can change marketing messaging through email and create the segmentation as well as the templates by which those emails get sent. But we're not the replacement for an ESP. We don't replace their CRM. We actually sit on top of all those technologies. And to be honest, we bridge gaps in the silos they have in their own organization and make it easier for them to get data from one system into the other and take action on all of it.
Okay. So can you give me like a specific scenario for a retailer? How would they actually use SmarterHQ for day-to-day engagement with their customers?
Sure. I'll actually, if you don't mind, I'll give you two examples because there's some things that all retailers do that we optimize and improve the performance of, and then there are some things that only a tool like ours with predictive analytics and the models that we use to derive predicted behavior could possibly do. In the first case, an example might be something as simple as cart abandonment, where a browser has gone to the website of a retailer, they have browsed for products, they have added some things to their cart, they've gone through part of the process maybe, but then they abandon and don't purchase. Standard practice in retail would be 24 hours later, 48 hours later, send them an email saying, hey, you forgot something in your cart, here's 10% off, and encourage them to buy it. They'll get productivity from that. They'll get results, but they're giving away margin by offering a 10% off in order to come back and purchase. And really, they're doing that because they don't know if that customer was about to purchase it, if that customer preferred to buy brand new products, if that potential purchaser would rather buy in the store. So we'll take that cart abandonment and turn it into all of those other segments that I just mentioned. If our propensity to purchase model predicts that they are about to purchase anyway, we may just send them a reminder within a few hours and say, by the way, you forgot to make the purchase final. Please go back and do so. And we'll see lift from that.
Let me ask you this. How do you actually know that propensity?
So we have at the core of our platform machine learning predictive analytics models that absorb data from the behavior of each individual on the website, as well as other sources like offline data, point of sale, order management, and they compute a predicted score for this person. When are they most likely to purchase in the next 3 days, 7 days, 14 days, 21 days? And each of those models are different per customer because the machine learning component of that, basically the data is what informs the model as to what is the most likely purchase window rather. So if you think about it as kind of the machines learning the behavior of the customer of a given retailer, that's what they're doing. And those models continually update. So as we learn more and we gather more behavior, we get better and better at delivering those predictions. And once we have those predictions, we use them to drive those campaigns. The results of those campaigns reinforce the models. If it worked, we know we're right. If it didn't, we have to continue to learn more behavioral characteristics in order to get better and better. So these models actually evolve over time and get smarter, no pun intended, as things as the retailer works with us over year over year.
Okay, so the way that you actually capture that data, is it basically through cookies or?
Yes. So we'll tag a website, and obviously the cookie is a part of the ID that we will use. But the tags on the website capture behavior. We will use over 70 different unique identifying characteristics of browsing behavior, of information that a user may supply, in order to link profiles across devices. So that we're trying to we know whether or not it's you on your mobile device versus it's you opening an email on your desktop. So we'll use all of that to try and figure out who you are across every channel. And then, of course, the models recompute once we learn all of that. But yes, cookies are involved, and tags on the website are involved.
Okay, great. So that was example number one, was cart abandonment.
Yes. So and part of it actually kind of parlayed into example number two, which is the predictive capabilities. So if you take cart abandonment and you optimize it for folks who are likely to purchase or not likely to purchase, that's one optimization that we provide that folks think they're doing well right now, but they actually could really improve on the lift that they're going to get from a simple program like cart abandonment. But then if you go all the way to the other end of the spectrum and use something like what we would call a high-value disengaging segment. So a customer or prospect even who's predicted to be high value, lifetime value to the brand. Over time, they have exhibited certain behavior that they're continually engaged with your brand, but they have now triggered an attrition risk flag because the model that predicts engagement says they have fallen below the threshold for whether or not they are at risk. In that case, the high-value disengaging customer segment becomes extremely valuable. So a retailer may do something very particular to that individual and group of individuals who are known to be high lifetime value or believed to become high lifetime value, but are disengaging. That may be a case where they want to sacrifice margin and optimize around making sure that that individual stays loyal to the brand versus simply a batch and blast campaign that may be irrelevant to them altogether. That kind of campaign is very difficult to pull off unless you have deep analytics and understanding of your customers. And because that data set changes all the time, if you're not using capabilities like what we offer, it's really hard for you to do it yourself internally.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. One of the things that I'm sure all retailers and anybody in the business industry knows right now is what could be the buzzwords of AI and machine learning, which is pretty much everybody's starting to use those.
Right.
So what's the difference between all these companies that are supposedly using some form or level of AI and machine learning? How would a retailer actually know what is different?
So honestly, the number one best way that a retailer can learn whether or not what a given vendor is promising them is real is to refer to their customer base and get references from the customers that are using the capabilities today. In the 5 years that we've been in business, we have had to go head-to-head against multiple ESPs that have claimed that they have the capabilities in-house and that they can do it all automatically. Other vendors that have made the same claims. And in those head-to-head battles, we've been able to prove our results are superior. We have customers that are happy to say that and share their stories. We have a lot of case studies on our website, and in fact just released a new playbook for holiday marketing just yesterday. So all of these case studies, these ROI examples, and these proof points are what we use to differentiate ourselves from the market, and as well as prove that what we're saying is true.
So, I mean, there's definitely a secret sauce to what you're doing or what any other company might be doing. Is it important for the retailer to know what is the secret sauce behind, in your black box that does all the analytics, or is it really, not a useful, experiment for them to go into that and really focus on the results?
So I'll say I don't want to say that it's not important for them to understand how it works. However, it's not critical for them to understand how it works in order for them to get the value from the system. I think with some vendors in the space, they deliver insights. You would then have to know what to do with them, and that requires a lot of work and a layer of capability inside an organization that can lead to a lack of actually getting value. You don't need to know how it works for us, but we're happy to show you. Our data scientists love to get on the phone and walk through the actual calculations, the heuristics we use in order to determine a result, and the way that we keep that updated and live in real time. They love what they do. So I would love to have any of our customers who say they're interested in getting to know how it works. I know our guys would love to get on the phone with them and discuss it. But again, you don't need to know that in order to get the results that we've driven with all of our enterprise customers. You can use the system very easily, very cleanly in order to deliver on a segment, deliver on an experience, and set that in motion without having to know how the models calculate those scores in the back.
Okay, and would one reason for actually that level of, I don't want to say separation, but independence almost in what one vendor does internally, is that like a result of how APIs are really changing the integration business?
I think it is because honestly, because we can integrate and take in data and put data back into other systems, and we can output to any channel, we become very agnostic of how those things work. And we have a set of APIs and pre-built connections to all of the major ESPs, so that's very easy for a retailer to get up and running. And honestly, we focus a lot on the ETL capabilities for data coming into us, so that it's very easy for our customers to just provide us with data, and we worry about how to transform it into a usable format. I do think it's changing the capabilities that are offered today. If you look 10 years ago, 5 years ago even, there are so many different ways that those technologies would have had to have been implemented that they were so cumbersome, they were complicated, and they required so much replacement of technology that the effort required was not worth it. Today, that's not the case. To be honest, on our side, it makes it easier for folks to also switch vendors. So I think from a vendor's perspective, it's more of a challenge. But it just means that you have to truly prove results and drive actual ROI that you can prove, which we're lucky that we do.
On an ongoing basis. You
on
have
an
to prove
ongoing
it
basis,
every day
year over
or
year.
every
Yes.
month. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
That leads me to my next question. What is a typical implementation engagement?
So typically an implementation actually begins before we are finalizing and signing a contract, because once we know we're going to be engaged, it's very easy for us to provide the tag that you need to put on the website, and then for us to start getting your product feed from a retailer in this case, and getting that set up for absorption into our system. You just tag your website, and the data starts flowing to our servers. Once we have that data flowing to our servers, we're able to start computing those scores and calculating those predictions. As soon as we have integration to the ESP and an email template ready to go, which we provide, then the retailer can start using that data in our system to drive those campaigns. It usually takes a few weeks. It honestly, and time to value is very quick. Forrester did a study on us and determined that payback was on average, payback of the entire contract yearly cost was within 2.6 months or less. And we've got customers who within 2 weeks of being live have driven enough lift to pay for the whole year's service.
Wow, that makes it really difficult not to do it once you know that kind of an ROI.
Is exactly. And honestly, it is not a evangelical selling process. It is proof points and hard dollar ROI. We show the results we've been able to deliver for dozens of customers, and it's very difficult to argue with those numbers. And I think that's led to a lot of relatively short engagement cycles in order to get things up and running and get it live and start proving it for them as well.
Right. So now looking at the website, I see that you also have a web solution.
Yes.
How does that work?
So what that does is it coordinates those campaigns that we're using via email, where we're sending specific offers and specific content. And when you browse the website, you actually experience a very similar experience to what you've received over email. So based on those segments, based on those predictions, we can customize the content that you're viewing on a website in real time, so that if you're a high-value customer who's an attrition risk, you may see different offers than if you're a year-over-year back-to-school shopper who's shopping for your kids. versus if you're someone who is a predicted lower lifetime value customer, someone who buys on sale items mostly, you're going to see very different experiences on the website. And coupling that with the omni-channel view, where you're getting an email, you're seeing the website the same way, the mobile site is the same thing. All of those deliver a far superior experience for the end user, which leads to higher average order value, higher conversion, higher loyalty.
Okay, so you basically, in that case, you integrate into the CMS, basically, right?
Yes, we do. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, who are some of the, I guess, better known partners that you work with as far as platforms?
So as platforms, pretty much every email service provider that you could name, we work with. ExactTarget, Responses, Silverpop. There are others out there as well that we integrate with. We're, like I said, agnostic. We want our customers to be able to use whatever capabilities and services they already have, and we want to be able to just integrate to those. So as far as those channels, that's those, pretty much anyone you could name.
Okay. What about the customer size? What's your, I guess, sweet spot for the customer size?
We do have customers that range in their overall, let's say, online revenue or online plus offline revenue, because we do have customers that are multi-channel, and we have a solution for that as well. It does range. So we have clients that are under $20 million online a year, and that range, they go all the way up to well over $1 billion. It just depends on how many customers they are engaging with, how frequent those engagements are, how many emails they are sending, how many website visits they get. We walk through an ROI calculation with every prospect as we are going through the engagement cycle and determine if we believe we're going to be able to move the needle enough for them to justify our cost. And if that comes back as a no, we're very honest, and we share that with them so that they don't make the wrong decision. But in general, we're able to find a way to make that work.
What if a company is just getting started? Like it's a new, commerce, new brand, just getting started. How would you help them?
So if they're a new brand, then we would work with them to understand what their long-term plans are. We actually do have some that we've been speaking with lately around what their 2, 3, 4 year growth plans look like. It may make sense for them to deploy us right away in order to grow their business very quickly, but it also requires an investment that most very early stage businesses are probably not going to want to make. That said, there are we don't assume anything. We treat each of those circumstances uniquely. It just depends on that multi-year growth, because having this data and the year-over-year view of customers does make a difference.
Right. So next question is the financial side of it. Is it a SaaS side? And I mean, I fully understand the fact that for your team to actually get engaged and start to put together an ROI estimate, and it takes time. So you have to make sure that you're investing your time in something that has a potential at least. So
Yes.
Is it a SaaS model or is it a license model?
We are a SaaS business, and so we have a subscription fee that we will charge. That is an annual subscription fee. And based on that annualized subscription fee, the services we provide are included in that. It's very clear how that is. We don't charge per transaction. We don't charge per email sent or anything like that. We encourage as much utilization of the platform as possible.
Okay. Now, what happens after the customer goes live? How do you engage and help them get better?
So once they go live, we work with them to get their quick start programs up and running, which are the usual 5, 6, 7 campaigns that they're going to want to run right away. We help them get those live, generate a ton of value, and then from that value, we start to work with them on their marketing plan, their long-term view of what they need to achieve, their goals, and we design together a plan of other campaigns that we will launch over time. So that collaboration is what helps us from a client services standpoint understand our clients better and also their goals, but then how to guide them as far as what we would do next. We have a playbook of dozens, almost hundreds of campaigns, and making sure we're using the right ones at the right time for the right customer is very important. But we'll work with them from a client services perspective to do just that.
Okay, so the engagement continues after the actual implementation.
Yes.
Yes. I mean,
It does.
that's the key part is, I see sometimes people invest a lot of time and money in getting something implemented and then not following through. And, just like my iPhone, if I'm only using 10% of what it can do, that's not good. So,
Yeah, exactly. No,
yes,
exactly. And it honestly, it's as things change over time and as organizations evolve, their marketing plans change with them. That's why the continual relationship and ongoing relationship is very important.
right, right. Okay. So, one final question. I have a ton of questions, but I know we don't have enough time. But one question I like to ask all my guests, what do you think is going to be like the top technology that's going to fundamentally change retail in the next 5 years?
Top
And this is
technology. Yeah.
omni-channel retail.
Yeah, that's a great question. To be honest, it's one that I probably have a number of different ideas around. I think the capabilities for retailers to understand location of their users and physical location of their customers, rather, in the store, when they, their frequency of buying habits, et cetera. The omni-channel view of a customer, I think, is going to be important. Just the capabilities, not trying to sound, just self-promotional, but honestly, the capabilities of predicting behavior have grown immensely over the last 5 to 10 years, just by the advent of other technologies like Amazon Web Services and Redshift, and being able to compute so much information so quickly now versus what it took 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I think there are a lot of capabilities Amazon offers that retailers have to be able to compete with. They're not going to win on price and necessarily breadth of offering, but they're going to win on a better experience, something that is more personalized to that end consumer, both online and in the store. I think retailers are going to continue to advance the ball in areas around personalization and driving better and better experiences if they want to stay relevant and deliver a brand-related experience that makes someone want to shop with them versus a lower cost option.
Okay. So location, predictive analytics, and personalization and experience.
I think those are the big ones.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. And on that note, I will let you get back to your important business.
I appreciate that.
Thank you
Thank you very
very
much.
much, Michael. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely.